What up, though? Welcome to the Resurgence. This is episode 4. Is this 4?
I believe this is 4.
We was on slight 4. Okay, we were on the slight hiatus, but we back like we never left. So it's a thing. And I'm actually looking at the camera this time, not looking at my phone, how I normally do, which is always a thing. Today, we are blessed to have two amazing brothers with us. We've been trying to get this rolling, but time is of the essence. So when it comes together, when it's in God's design, everything perfect. So today is the day. The brothers are here on the show with us today. We are ultra excited to do the introductions. How you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing.
Are you feeling?
Actually,
are you amazing?
Speaking of God's plan too, also, today is going to be an interesting show because today I will be executing my behavior challenge on the podcast, The Resurgence.
Oh, snap.
For those that have watched previous episodes, you saw how things got, but I just started a new podcast called The Refined Men. Mm-hmm. That is with my brother, Devon Starks, and that is a spiritually Christian-based podcast. So today, and also just for your record, this is Fago Twist in my red cup today.
Mine too.
So yeah, today will be interesting to see how I can maintain my behavior, but also just tune into that because it is on YouTube and we do have a Facebook page as well as an Instagram page, the Refined Men Podcast. Let's get it. What's up?
I'm old school Catholic over here. I'm spiritual. Am I not? I might be the most spiritual person here. Okay. In other news, I can come on the. See, this is the thing. See how they pop out with over 5 minutes. I could be on that show.
We just started like the 4th episode, man. We on the same.
This is merely water.
Is it?
It's ice in it. Introducing our brothers today. Coming to the stage. Let me do this is my Arsenio Hall card, so back in the day. See that? I will have the distinct honor to introduce the guest today. Thank you for that. Today we have the Honorable Adam Hollier, former state senator and director of the Michigan Department of Veteran Affairs. My frat brother, member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, you know what I'm saying? Theta, Zeta, Lambda chapter. My dean will be so proud right now. See how I ran that down? My dean will be so proud. All things. You know what I'm saying? The regnant reflections of the 18th dynasty.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
You see? What? You see? Ran down the line name for him.
Look at you.
Bring it in, bro. You know what I'm saying? And also, we have my other brother here, Brother Lynn Roosevelt Wiggins, coordinator of the Michigan Democratic Party's voter turnout project. And I appreciate you brothers for being here. I know right now my dean is so proud because I did that rundown. You know what I'm saying? That was the thing with that. It has been a minute to have to learn somebody's line and name. It's been a long time.
Thanks.
You know what I'm saying? Same. So we just wanted to have you guys come out. So basically, on the Resurgence, we keep it light. And, we're in the community a lot. So people, everybody's talking about politics. I'm honestly kind of over it because I'm just ready for it to be over. We're 29 days from the election. 29 days from the election. I'm exhausted. And I'm just ready to vote because the commercials, the phone calls, it's killing me. Because I think everybody detects. I think everybody knows who they're voting for. I don't think anyone's really undecided, but that's my personal belief. But I'm gonna let you brothers have the floor because y'all know way more about it than I do. So welcome. And I'm gonna take some email questions. And we asked a question from people that I've been talking to, and I told you guys were coming on the show. So they had me write down some things. So we just go from there.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that there are a lot of people who still don't know who they're voting for. Okay. Because the election is not just for president, right? So there are a lot of people who have decided who they're going to vote for president, but they don't know any of the judges, right? So a good friend of mine, Kyle Harris-Bolden, running for the state Supreme Court. Okay. There's also other people, running for those spaces. There are probate judges like Macy Gaines, folks who are looking and going to be impactful in our lives that most people have never heard of, right? There are state reps and state senators. Mm-hmm. I don't know no state senators, but there are state reps on the ballot. There are county commissioners, right? There are a bunch of things on the ballot this year that folks need to be conscious of. And maybe they've decided on one of the 10 or 15 options that they're going to have to vote for, right? We have a U.S. Senate election that's going to be hugely impactful. There are members of Congress that are running for re-election. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things on the ballot that people need to be thinking about, which is why we always try and encourage people to vote early. So my ballot came last week on my birthday, right?
Happy belated.
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you.
Come on. You get a little more of this water.
Yep. So as we talk about this, right, like if you have made all your decisions that we encourage folks to, you can go vote today, right? Like you can vote because you've requested your absentee ballot, or you can go down to your clerk's office, do the application right then and fill it out, and they'll give you a ballot. You take it, you fill it out. And for the first time ever in Michigan, we have 2 weeks of early voting in the city of Detroit, 9 days everywhere else. So it's never been easier to vote. And we are encouraging everybody to do that. So it's a simple ask. We ask everybody to vote, right? That's number one. Number two, we're like, hey man, vote early. And you can vote early for no reason, right? You used to have to be over 65 or need a reason. Right. Now you just have to be registered to vote, and you can register to vote on the same day and get your absentee ballot.
Oh, wow.
You know, they'll mail it to you, or you can pick it up and you can vote, right? Too easy. And then the last thing is we ask you to get 10 of your people to show up and do the same. Because if we don't get people to show up, we're going to be in a lot of trouble this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, interesting, because when I went over, we were talking about Moses earlier. My dog is completely out of control at my mom's house. But when I went over, I go in the kitchen. I was like, Ma, you got your voter? She had her birthday already. She was like, oh, you voting early. So you mentioned it. And then she asked me today to ask you guys. She was like, a lot of people don't know about the judges, for example. Yep. So people are kind of going off the name sound good or it sound cool. You might see him on a commercial. Maybe he go to your church. People really don't know about the judges. So what's a way that people can find out what the judge stands for? Is it like an easy, well, I won't say easy, but is it like a checklist thing you can find out?
I mean, the easiest way is to Google their name. And so anybody who is running for judge who wants your vote is going to have their information up and be doing those things, right? So it's a lot easier, obviously, the higher end. So somebody like Kai Harris Bolden, who's already a Supreme Court justice, it's easier to check her. But the other person who's running for the Supreme Court, it's Kimberly Stevens. When you look at her, you're like, all right, how do I know about her? You Google it. You look at it, right? Like they're running together because the Democratic Party does nominate Supreme Court judges. They don't nominate any of the other judges, but they're still in the nonpartisan section. So I know folks like Mace Gaines who's running for probate judge, or Adrian Scruggs who's running for judge, right? So you know a couple of these folks here and there, but you just have to do your research on them, and that's why it's so valuable to vote early, because you can take your ballot and you can say, all right, I don't know this person. You know this person? You don't know the person either. All right, I'm gonna go Google. Or one of the things that we've been doing is having a lot of folks talk to their pastor about it, right? So there are some folks who think that the Bible doesn't talk about governance and talk about politics. You've heard people say that. But if you actually read the Bible, most of it is about who leads the people of God, right? It is talking about kings.
True.
It is talking about identifying leaders, right? And the story of what you do that, how leaders fall out of favor and all those other kind of things, so that you can identify the kind of person that you want to lead you or the person you don't. And so I think it's really important for us to recognize that role. But the same way you talk to your pastor about your relationship, you should talk to him about your ballot. And a number of pastors we work with every week to do exactly that.
You see that right there? That's why we need him on the show.
See, the thing too that I would have to agree that it's very simple, because that's the same thing I did. I actually voted early.
What?
And
I didn't actually, you didn't tell me that, bro.
Why did I tell you?
Because I ain't vote.
Yeah, we vote. So I got my early vote, and of course, as you go down the list, there are names that you don't know. So the thing is now to really Google their policies. More so for me, that's what I'm looking for. What party they're aligned with and what their policies are. And it's a very simple process, actually. But now here's a question you mentioned the pastor and voting. What do you feel is now the connection between church and state? Do you feel like that it seems more pertinent now in these most recent elections? I would say the last two. What are your thoughts on that exactly?
I mean, there's no question that religious people have played a huge role in our nation and its history. And I think it's important for us to recognize that Black folks are the most religious demographic in the country. And we are also the one demographic where they're like, well, you need to separate your God from government. That's not what that was designed to do. Right? The Constitution was saying that government should not infringe on your ability to worship your religion, nor should we have a particular religion as a state. It was not meant to say, hey man, keep your government, keep your Jesus out of my government, right? Like it was meant to tell the government to keep Jesus out of government, but not for individuals, right? Like your religion is your values, and so you live them whether you are Jewish, whether you're a Muslim, whether you are Hindu, whether you're Baha'i, no matter what your faith tradition is, you bring all of that to bear with you when you vote, when you make selections, and do all those kind of things. The important thing is that government isn't picking a winner and saying, all right, well, if you are Baha'i, you're good. If you are, Jewish, you're bad. If you are Muslim, you're good. If you're Christian, you're bad. Or if you're Pentecost, that's cool. But if you're Catholic, like that's not what government is here to do. What government is here to do is to make sure that you have the freedom to worship as you see fit. It's important for Black folks, particularly in this moment, to recognize that white folks have taken away what Christianity is in a governmental space, right? So when you look at it from a real way, we talk about the radical right and the Christian right. Yeah. That's not the church I grew up in, right? Like that's not what Baptist church looks like to me. That's not what you see in Kojic ministry, right? And we are talking about it. We are showing up and doing those other things. So it's important for us and the people of God who believe to speak clearly about what your belief set means so that it combats this idea that religion is hateful, that it is trying to do some of these other things, because it's not. And so I'm in churches every Sunday doing that. I was at church twice today.
I'm gonna love this episode. I can see that already.
It's right up your alley. It's political, it's religious over here, it's festival world. We're gonna
I'll try to save that drama for later on. But so I want to get what's the next question for this gentleman here. So what is your stance on things and what do you do to let the people know?
Yeah, so more specifically, right now, what I'm doing is I'm coordinating the effort to maximize the faith-based community's participation in the 2024 general election, utilizing a strategy called relational voting. It's very similar. It's like missionary work, multi-level marketing. You just keep one person in the doc, give them the information that they need to make an informed decision, and then they pass that information on to people in their network. So when you mention the power of 10, you think about, there's a great book called The Compound Effect. It's the same thing. If you spend $1.57 at Starbucks each week, then you're going to spend almost like $7 plus. Well, depending on where you're shopping at. Let's just say $2. You spend almost $20 a week plus on Starbucks. But if you educate individuals in your network and let them know why you're voting a particular way, what are the candidates who you should be voting for, then you'll have the net effect of, like, in this room we have 5 people, but we all bring 10 people out. Now we maximize our efforts and bringing out 50 people who can make a more valid stance and or be more representative at the polls and helping us sway people in a certain direction. So that's what I'm looking to do, and that's what I'm working on right now. But like also, like we mentioned the judicial candidates, I think it's fairly important to understand that there are tools and resources out here that you don't have to use Google. There's a one-stop shop right now. It's called InfoVote. Infovote.app. Partnered with Wrap Snacks. So if you go to any store right now in the United States, you scan the back of a Wrap Snacks bag, it'll download the InfoVote app. It's a nonpartisan tool that educates people about who they should vote for and why they should vote for them, and actually gives you the ability, based upon what your criteria and standards are, to show you like which candidates are more in line with your beliefs and views. And that's what I think is fundamentally important. Working with the party, it's important to push the message. But at the end of the day, it's like people choosing what best fits their reality and what fits their values, and, as opposed to superimposing anything on anyone. I think that's part of the issue that we've had in the past, where people feel like, I'm being inundated with information on this side or another. It's like, no, just give people the opportunity to understand what represent their values and how they can move improve their quality of life moving forward.
So do you think, and that's the thing I'm finding too, is a lot of personal things that, like you said, is more personal beliefs and more personal effects from the actual person they elect. Where for me, I'm thinking, okay, I might like this, this, or this, but what's going to benefit the country overall? What's going to benefit my demographic overall? So what would you recommend going about doing that to kind of encourage people to be less personal with their voting and more country-based? What would benefit the area the best or benefit their neighborhood the best?
Well, I mean, this may be off topic, but I mean, I think about the poli-sci class I took many years ago about John Stuart Mill. He talked about the harm principle. So if there's a policy or some sort of information that's being disseminated that harms people, then it shouldn't be disseminated. It should be fact-checked. But most importantly, it shouldn't become a policy per se.
Yeah.
So I think that when we look at policy, we have to look at the holistic approach. Like what it benefits society as a whole versus my individual like perspective. Like, of course, like if I want to represent my family's best interests, but at the same time, like how would this impact my neighbor? Like I'm not LGBTQ or any of those letters, but I have individuals in my family and friends network that are. So I can't just dissuade that, disregard that and say, oh, that doesn't matter to me. You know, it's not my issue, because it is my issue, because these are my friends, my family members. So I have to have some voice or say that protects their rights. Just because it's not my right doesn't mean that their rights should be negated in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
I think it's important to recognize, though, that we are also voting for our self-interest, and that's not bad. We just need to be doing it right. So I have 2 little kids. When I'm voting for folks who want better schools, I'm doing it because I want my kids to have good schools. That is also good for all the other kids, all the other parents, and everybody else who lives in the city. And so we are doing things that we think are going to be helpful to us and our family, and also to Lynn's point, that are not going to hurt our neighbors and friends.
Right. That's deep. So I didn't know about the rap snacks. I didn't know that.
I have not.
That's Master P No Limit with the rap snacks.
I haven't even tried a rap snack, but I would. Yeah, definitely.
The barbecue one slap. I ain't gonna lie.
Infovote.app.
Infovote.app.
Infovoteapp.com.
Oh, Infovote.
But if you go to Rap Snacks, you go to the store, you scan the back of the bag, the QR code, boom.
Okay.
Download that.
Yeah.
The info vote.
Infovote app. app.com.
App. Okay. Yeah. Good. People here, like the last time we were trending, we were like at 2,000 people. So that's good. Because a lot of people, I didn't know that. So if I didn't know it, I know a lot of people don't know it. You know, so that's huge. Okay, I appreciate that. So I think that in that question about the judges, for example, they came from my mom, just me driving to the store, and she was like, you know, ask about the judges, because people don't really know. I was like, that's a good question, which I had thought of. That's why I need you. See, that's why she did.
But I mean, it really, judges really do make a difference, and especially
huge difference.
I mean, when you talk about the number of folks who want to see criminal justice reform, just having better judges solves a lot of those problems.
Mm-hmm. And actually, you said that a lot. Actually, that people need to vote down the ballot as opposed to just voting for the top candidates that they know.
I mean, we got a school board election in the city of Detroit going on. And there are a number of folks who are not going to vote for school board. Like tons who are not going to vote for school board. Couldn't name 5 people on the board. Couldn't name 3 people running.
Wow, that's true. That's unfortunate, but it's true.
I mean, my good friend Sharice Butler is running, so you know that.
So I need every time he drop it. That's what. I need people like, hold on, what are you?
I have her yard sign out front of the house, so you know.
Okay.
She good people.
Okay. Because every name you drop, I'm gonna be in the booth like, dang, what he say? I'm gonna be texting like, bro, what was that you were saying?
Like, that's why it's so important to get your 10 people and to get them early so you can catch them and so to make sure that they got those questions answered. I did the same thing with my mom last week when she got her ballot. Because, you know, my mom is one of those people who's like, it came today, it's going out tomorrow.
You know, Mom's be my business.
Mama does not need to go out tomorrow. She's like, it came today, it's going out tomorrow. It's like, all right, Mom.
So let me step into the other world of this. Now I'm gonna get into the culture with us. So, dang, where do I want to start?
Just go in.
Ooh, it's so.
I'm feeling it's going to be that type of episode. I don't know what you guys can say or can't say, but I feel it's going there. So go ahead, just kick it off, please.
So you know, you out, you in the clubs, you at the bars, you in the barbershops. I'm in the community. I'm with the people. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm out, people are talking about this election.
Yep.
Most people are tired of all the commercials, but everyone's talking about it. Everybody, okay, we just need to get this done. So, dang, where do I want to start with it? So let's start with both of the people. Let's start with Kamala Harris. What's vastly different between her and Donald Trump when it comes to the black community as a whole? Because to be honest, when I'm out,
she's black. She's black. Mm-hmm. If she got pulled over, they would say black woman. If somebody was like, oh man, they would say she's a black woman of a certain age with brown hair. That's how she would get pulled. You know, that is how she would be in alignment, right? So she's black, and we should stop entertaining any other idea because we don't need to justify her blackness because she just is. She's always been black, right? She was the first black vice president. She is the first black vice president. when she was running for AG, it wasn't like, she kind of like this is a silly question, right? Like she not passing and she ain't never tried.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you brothers this question. What do you feel about the black people, our culture, who criticize Kamala about her ethnicity and use that as a means to not vote for her? What would you say to those people? Or how would you address those people?
I mean, we have always had people who do not want what is best for other black folks, right? We have always, from time immemorial, we have had these kind of conversations about the difference between skin folk and kinfolk. And I think it's abundantly clear that anybody that is going after the vice president on this is doing so because they don't have anything better and because they have challenges with their own self-identity.
So there was
their party. That's a whole nother 6 hours. We'll just address the actual within our culture.
Right.
Why do you feel like there's so much criticism for Kamala Harris and her ethnicity being one of those issues?
I think because she's a black woman. I mean, I think, gender and race definitely play a role in this race, just like it played in 2016 with gender. I think it's, she's a double minority.
Yeah.
And I think because, we're not accustomed or used to having individuals of that persuasion in powerful positions such as vice president. I mean, she's the first African-American vice president. She's from the flats of Oakland, California. I mean, I don't know how much blacker you can get. To question that is just like Adam identified. I think it's a level of self-discontent, or I don't want to call it self-hate per se, but it's definitely reflective of the fact that, some people don't consider me to be African-American. When I walk in a room and I present my credentials, I went to University of Michigan, I went to Cranbrook, they're like, oh, no, he's not black. But I grew up on Puritan, Wyoming. I grew up in Holbrook in Oakland, in the city of Detroit. So I'm not black. I don't represent African-American interests. Like, we are a spectrum. Just like we're not a monolith.
Yes.
Just like white people aren't a monolith. But at the same time, like, I feel, because we don't have that same level of social capital that we once had back in the day in the communities where you had a doctor, a lawyer, and you had garbage men, you had factory workers all living in the same communities. We've kind of bifurcated ourselves to a certain extent. So we do have like elements of classism that exist in the African American community where certain individuals wouldn't necessarily accept her or identify as her being African American, which she is.
And I guess a lot of the scrutiny she receives too is she never mentioned her ethnicity throughout her campaign. She never mentioned her ethnicity throughout her career in politics. But the thing is, like, do you need her to mention it if you can visibly see her ethnicity? And my question, I'm just going to look at the camera with this question. What I find crazy is the fact that this is the first woman vice president, first African-American woman vice president, and also now potentially first African-American woman presidential candidate. But yet she receives a lot of scrutiny from her own culture.
I don't think that's the case. I mean, I think there are some people, a very small number of people, who people keep putting mics in front of. 99 out of 100 are like, yes, that's a black woman, right? Like that. There's no question about this thing.
I never questioned if she was black. I voted for her twice. And sometimes you have to tell sisters that, because if you even look like you about to ask questions, they'll jump on you like, I voted for her twice. Calm down. There is a slight, what's the word I'm looking for? Additional. You guys have good words. I know you're about to say something.
Bias.
Come on. I think for black men, I don't think that we're against her being a president, because some people say, "Oh, well, you're a misogynist if you don't vote for her." I don't think it's because in our culture, most dudes are raised by their mothers. So we're used to seeing women in positions of like leadership, authority, or power. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is also it's not being talked about on social media. But a lot of things I've heard when I'm out in the streets, out in public, they have an issue with her spouse choice. So some people will say, well, she's black, but she's married to him. He's not black. He's white. So I think that's kind of an underlying thing in our community that people talk about, but they never post it. But when I'm out, I hear it often. Now, is she a black woman? Yes. So I don't understand what people think she's not. I don't get that. But there are other like grumblings about her. Oh, is she really for the black community? Because, is certain political or certain leaders that say, well, no, because of her, who she chose as a husband. So what do y'all think about that? And do y'all think that affects the upcoming vote as far as black men voting for her?
I don't know any black man that is not voting for her because the person who she loves is a Jewish white man. Like I don't see where any of those things make a difference, right? Like when we look at these moments, voting is multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a guy in Donald Trump who's been married however many times, cheated on however many women, who, yada, 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 on and on and on? Or do you want somebody who has been vice president, has been attorney general, was a U.S. senator, is upright, went to a black college, has been qualified, has done all of these things? I mean, I think the answer is pretty clear for me, right? Like I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris happily and continue to tell everybody and encourage folks to do the same.
Understand that. The point that hit me too was when you said that it is it's a louder minority that they put the mic in front of, and that seems to be a bit similar to, let's say, another candidate and the people that support him.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds as if it's a lot of people that, and most of it I see is on social media. But the part I guess that I struggle with is seeing my own culture supporting this. And like I said, that's where I guess mine would go into, and I have to kind of get out of that echo chamber, I guess. But it just seems like a lot of my culture just, you can't trust Kamala and you can't trust in Trump 2024. And I'm thinking, well, if trust is the issue, you're voting for the candidate who has not told the truth in a single interview he's been in. And as a matter of fact, he lies constantly.
30,523 lies or false and misleading statements in his 4 years in office. 583 on the day before the election in 2020. Ooh. So when we talk about trust, it's like you mentioned, like, I trust Kamala Harris. I understand that she will represent the people's interests. She's not representing her self-interest. And more to the point, he's not trusted by his own vice president. We have the audacity to denigrate our current vice president and say, what has she done? Name one policy decision that Mike Pence implemented that has demonstratively changed the lives and improved the quality of life for any American in the 4 years in office. I'll wait, because there are none. Because that's not what vice presidents do. They serve as sounding boards for policy and they only have a certain amount of power in which they can influence the existing president. So when we denigrate her and say, oh, this inflation problem is hers or this immigration problem is hers. No, I mean, there are systemic problems that exist, but her influence is somewhat limited to the point where she's an advisor. Now, as a candidate, she can speak her truth to power. She said, I was talking to a Republican friend of her, he's like, oh, the whole trans thing, she wants transgender individuals to have operations. No, that was a policy position many years ago. Mm-hmm. And her campaign says that they don't have a policy right now. They're not going back to that same leanings that they were before. So it's like, is she not allowed to evolve her position or change her position? Just understanding not necessarily what the electorate wants, but in terms of more so, what's the functionality and reasonable rationale behind it? And how much would that cost taxpayers? You taxpayers really want their money funding such sort of things. And those questions aren't being raised on the right. It's only being raised on the left because, again, we have the whole culture of like the double negative. We have the minority female who's running for office, who's held at a different standard than a J.D. Vance or a Donald Trump.
Right. She's going to be more scrutinized because she is a black woman. And black women are the burden bearers of society. And what I wanted to do, especially with this show, I wanted to bring you guys the stuff I hear. Mm-hmm. So when I'm saying this is not what I'm feeling. Yeah. This is what I hear when I'm just out and about, when I talk to different groups of black men. So these conversations are real.
I just think it's really important that we tell them stop being dummies.
Right.
Because, well, I mean, there are moments where you are having a legitimate critique, and there are moments where you're saying things that don't make any sense.
Right.
And you can dislike her, you can feel all kinds of ways. But again, voting is multiple choice. You are choosing between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Right.
And this does not balance out. There's nothing she could do to make this make more sense. Right. And so I think that is the thing that we constantly have to go back to folks when they talk about it. Because, I had one of my students who was like, well, Kamala's a cop. I was like, okay. And they're like, because, think about all. Okay. when Donald Trump was in New York, he was trying to falsely accuse a bunch of folks, right? When we talk about, well, he's here for working class people and he gonna do stuff for tip wage. I was like, he used to run a casino. If he had wanted to give people raises, he could have. He didn't, right? Like, he came here to speak to the National Guard Bureau and was talking to National Guard Service. I'm a captain of the Army Reserve, right? And he was like, well, when I get back in office, we're gonna get everybody raised. Like, you were the president for 4 years. You could have given people raises. You could have done stuff for dependents. But what did you spend that time doing? Talking shit to John McCain, calling folks you disagree with losers, doing all of that kind of things that had never been heard of when we talk about soldiers and how we deal with family. When service members were actively living in dangerous spaces, and the VA was a mess. And so you look at the difference between VA healthcare under the Biden-Harris administration, and it's changed fundamentally, right? Like, more people are enrolled. We're talking about millions of people who now have access to care that didn't have it before. Family members that are getting the dependent care that they needed. Or like, those are the kind of things that we should be talking about. So when people are like, hey man, I just don't like her. All right, you either just don't like her because of any one of your issues, but when you come down to it, you need to vote for somebody who's going to take care of you. And we know that he's not.
What do you think? It's crazy how these questions chain link together, because now we talk about this all the time. So the $600 that Black people had,
no, it was $1,200. Was it $1,200?
So we asked them to say, "Oh, Trump gave us $600."
When you talk about the Inflation Reduction Act and all the other work that happened post-pandemic, you got way more stuff as a result of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did than what you ever did. And people are like, well, you got to ask yourself, are you better today than you were 4 years ago? Yes, there was a global pandemic 4 years ago. Every day you were looking at like, dang, am I going to lose this person? You were like, can I go outside? Can I go see? Like, my grandma's 101. I was like, I can't go see my grandma. It's those kind of things. So when you say, are you better today than you were 4 years ago? Yes, because we were having a global pandemic. Well, I got more. No, you don't have more money in your pocket.
Everything was closed
4 years ago than you do today, right? Like, all these same folks, man, the economy's so bad. Why are you on vacation? You should buy a new car, right? Like, you are living very good for the economy to be so bad. Gas prices are so high. Yeah, man, but you also got a raise. You ain't got a raise in years and years and years. Like, my groceries are more expensive. Yes, your groceries are more expensive because you remember during the pandemic when we were talking about how grocery store workers were heroes and how they were doing all things. You know what they got? They got a raise. So you know why your groceries are a little bit more expensive? Because those people who are selling your groceries, who are restocking the shelves, they aren't on food stamps anymore because they make enough money to support themselves. That's why your groceries are a little bit more expensive. And that's okay.
So yes. Okay. So is it safe to say also that how much corporate influence would you say is going into the current inflation in our country? The corporations or the ones who basically benefit the top 1%. How much would you say their part plays in inflation? I've just wondered that.
I mean, so again, I don't want to get into the complexities of economics because nobody wants to see us with flip charts and graphs and all that stuff.
Right.
But the way inflation works is when you have more money, then you can afford to buy the things that you have, right? So if Lynn has $1,000 and I have $100, but we both want a bottle of water, and I'm like, man, I'll pay $50 for that bottle of water because I'm thirsty, right? And Lynn's like, it don't make no difference to me. I'll pay $100. Then the price of water goes up because he's got more money. So when you talk about why did inflation happen, it was because people got raises, because people got a straight check. So there are a bunch of people who got money in their pockets that was burning 3 holes in their pockets, right? Like couldn't get it out the door fast enough, which is what the stimulus was designed to do. It was designed for you to spend money. But you know what people did? They spent money and they ate good. And they bought lobster and lamb chops and did all those kind of things. And that's great. That's what people should be able to live on. And they are living better, right? Like, you don't see people living on ramen no more, right? And that's the difference. So there's just been a higher demand, and it takes a little bit longer for folks to get back to it. Now, that's different than what you see with the housing crisis. So rent prices, I mean, if you're renting, you were struggling, right? And it's because we haven't built enough housing and because people haven't had access to enough credit, which is why it's so important for us to recognize the things the vice president is talking about. She's talking about giving people thousands and thousands of dollars, right? So when we bought my house, the Obama administration had just done that $8,000 first-time home buyer credit. 14 years ago, right? Kamala Harris is talking about a $25,000 benefit, right? Like you're talking about those kind of things, talking about for the first time in a long time, some rental assistance and building new housing so that you actually can get that place that you've been wanting to get. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
What's Donald Trump talking about doing? Helping his homeless.
Mm-hmm. So that
and he made his money shutting black folks out of apartments and doing all those other kind of things. That's the difference.
because that was the question I was leading to with the corporations. We go on the podium and we say, I'm going to give you this money, I'm going to give you this, but in actuality, your entire plan is to give tax cuts to the top 1% in all these corporations. And I also wanted to touch on the fact when you mentioned that you could go out and see your grandmother now, where you're better off 4 years ago than you are now. And the complaint that I always hear is how the country is destroyed and ruined, but yet I can literally get up right now, go down the street, 7-Eleven, buy a pop, come back home, sit down. Same person I'm debating with can do the exact same thing, but to them, the picture's painted as if it's just anarchy in the streets and this is happening and the country is under, and it's nothing. None of that is happening.
I mean,
none of that is happening.
Look at it 4 years ago. 4 years ago, there were those things were legitimately happening. We had gotten to a precipice as black men where we were like, you know what? It's not okay. It is not okay for every time I get pulled over for that to potentially be life or death. And so a number of black folks were like, look, I'm straight on this. And they stood up, and some of those things got serious. They got very serious because people have been tired of being pushed around, being murdered in the streets, whether it was black men, black women, right? We were in a time where it was just happening what felt like every week, right? Every week.
Yeah.
And so when they talk back, they're like, oh, well, you know, there were riots. You know, you hear Donald Trump say, oh, there were riots in the streets when you were the president.
Yeah.
There were no riots in the streets since Joe Biden has been the president. Right? There were no attacks on the Capitol since Joe Biden has been the president. When was unrest? 4 years ago. Who was the president 4 years ago? Donald Trump.
Also, I noticed that Joe Biden gets the reputation for being a soft president. He's not tough as Donald Trump. And yet, who are we at war with exactly?
Yeah, I think
He's
it's
invading our country right now.
I think it's like so. I think when you hear people talking about these kind of things, I think there's this kind of like, hey man, when I'm on, this like toughness, this like rough things. I was like, all right, who is the tougher guy? The guy who gets in your face and is talking all the shit in the world, or the one who just stands there and waits for you to stop? Because the guy who just stands there, he knows that if there's a fight, he's going to win, so he doesn't have to run his mouth. Now the guy who is always running his mouth, he'd be the first one to stand behind his, hey, man, you hold me back. Right? Like that's the difference, right? I'm a captain in the Army. The difference between how safe we are today versus 4 years ago is astronomical. It is fundamentally different. And you heard the vice president during the debate. She was like, the rest of the world laughs at you. They don't take you serious. And Donald Trump said, man, the prime minister of Hungary thinks I'm a tough guy.
I did think that was funny.
The prime minister of Hungary. That's your go-to, my guy. Mm-hmm. The prime minister of Hungary thinks you're a tough guy.
Hungary is more naturally conservative, aren't they? Too. It's just culture that the country.
The point is, if he was like, oh, Xi Jinping, China, like if he was talking about Maduro and Venezuela, if he was talking about some of the players on the world stage where we are actively managing conflict. Now, if he said, hey man, Angela Merkel, she thought I was a tough dude, right? Like, that would be a very different thing, right? And then he was like, I negotiated with the Taliban, and we just, Ahmed. It's like, bro, the leader of the Taliban's name is not Ahmed. So the idea that you were just like insert generic Muslim name and you thought that was going to be acceptable, it's like, yeah, bro, it's like we all know those kind of people who established a street cred thinking they're like, yeah, because I'll be over on I'll be at I grew up over on Mac and B Week, and like I be out here doing things. It's like, bro, you grew up in Indian Village, and that's cool. Right. I'm glad that you lived a wonderful, beautiful life. But don't pretend that you grew up in a space that's different than other people, right? Like we don't need to fake and funk it and have a struggle story about what is or is not. Right. You were born with a silver spoon on third base, rounding third, as a matter of fact. Yeah, and it's cool.
And that's the strange thing about the phenomenon of Donald Trump's in the poor individuals, particularly white Americans, who buy into his rhetoric. His tax benefits didn't benefit them. He didn't grow up the way they grew up. I mean, J.D. Vance did to a certain extent, but we remember like the old J.D. Vance, who actually was anti-Trump, had a lot more in common with those people than he does now. They don't even believe what he's saying. So it's just like this disconnect that's been created, historical fiction, for lack of a better word, to justify, make America great again. What does that exactly mean?
Slogan.
Like, America's a great nation. Don't get me wrong. We've had our, hiccups. We've had some serious hiccups. Like I'm sitting here as the fourth great nephew of Confederate President Jefferson Davis, the only person that ever tried to overthrow the country.
Wow.
I understand, like, there's some issues we had, but I've been to other countries. I've been to South Africa. I've been to Italy. And it wasn't like, a walk in the park. It wasn't very friendly to a certain extent. I saw racism firsthand that I've never experienced in America. And it just made me realize like how great it is to be American. I think if more people had that opportunity to experience to go abroad, I think we would understand and appreciate and understand how to work within the system. See, the thing is, everything's political, whether it's, Shepherd's Church or it's a faith group or your neighborhood association, your block club, your school district, everything's political. So we've gotten to this mind state where politics is a one-off when it's actually an everyday thing. You don't go into that booth and vote every 4 years and just walk away and say, they didn't do anything. I voted for this person. He said he was going to do X, Y, and Z. And now I am 4 years later. No, you hold them accountable. Mm-hmm. You have to hold people accountable. No one ever went, I'm dating myself. I never went to Hudson's with my mom downtown to see Santa Claus and just walk past Santa Claus. No one went to Northland, walk past Santa Claus. And then on Christmas Day, like, I didn't get anything I wanted because, you didn't talk to Santa Claus. You didn't sit on his lap. I'm not saying sit on politicians' lap.
No, please don't.
Don't do it, Diddy.
We got a lot going on already with Diddy. That's the next question. Right?
But I mean, more to the point, a serious note, like, we have to have people engaged in the political process. People have to understand that power is in numbers. Mm-hmm. There's a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, power commands nothing without a demand. And that's a powerful statement. I don't remember the rest of the quote, but it's a very long quote, and it's very powerful because it helps you understand that if you don't ask for something, you're not going to get anything in return. You're either at the table or on the menu. Mm-hmm. And you have to choose what your position is. Like, I mean, at the end of the day. And so if there's a Kamala Harris or if there's a Donald Trump, like, people have to hold these people accountable. If it's a state rep, if it's a city council member, you have to hold people accountable. Like, I love Mary Sheffield. I love the city of Detroit's leadership. But when I walk outside my house and unpronounced, there's construction traffic everywhere. No one made me aware. And I called the Department of Public Works. And they're like, oh, they're supposed to let everyone, the contractor's supposed to reach out to the residents. And I walk up to the contractor and say, hey, I was wondering, there's this state law that basically said you have to, we did reach out. We reached out to the business community because there's no residents here. And I'm like, that's interesting because I live 2 blocks away and there's Indian Village over here. And there's other residents that live on Mac and Bewick. We all take Jefferson or we take Kirchable. So like, that's unacceptable, but it's about accountability. At the end of the day, we have to learn how to hold elected officials accountable. That's our civic obligation. We are the people. It says we the people in the Constitution. It says we the corporations or we the Trumpers or we the MAGA or we the Democrats. It says we the people. Mm-hmm. So we have to hold people accountable in order to actualize the future that we want to see.
Jefferson is like driver's training right now. It's like driving. King driver's training. Yeah. We had a good time at King taking driver's training. Had a good time. Mr. Donaldson, shout out to his family. That was an epic time. What do you guys feel about people in our community that say your vote doesn't matter because popular vote doesn't elect the president? The Electoral College elects the president. So you've never voted for a president. The last president you voted for was John F. Kennedy. Everybody since then has been hand-selected, and it's just a figurehead.
It's hard to talk to some, Here's how the Electoral College works.
Break it down. So let me make sure we turn this. Oh, everybody's on here now. Hey, what up? Donald Trump. Okay. Oh, everybody. You got Wilberforce there. Shout out to Wilberforce University. Shout out to the Outlaws, all our sponsors. They're about to go in. Now, this is the part I've been waiting on, is the Electoral College, because this is what everybody on the street asks me about all the time. We talk about it at the bars, the barbershops, restaurants, everywhere. So now is the time, people. So tune in, get your popcorn ready. get all the people that have been talking to me. Don't call me. They're about to explain it, bro. You went to the kitchen, bro? Don't call me. Talk to they about to break down electoral. I'm about to get this. This is what we've been waiting on. Here we go right here. Just answer the question.
So the electoral college is a fairly simple thing.
Okay.
So democracy has only gotten more direct since the creating of the Constitution, right? So originally it was more, you were further away from democracy, but it's become closer. So before, members of the electoral college were actually elected and they made a decision based on whatever they wanted to do. That is not the case today. So in every state, the members of the electoral college are apportioned based on whatever their rules are. Okay. Most states are winner takes all. So that's what the rules are. Michigan and a number of your larger states. Some states they do it proportionally. But in Michigan has 15 electoral college votes. You get one for every member of Congress you have. Congress has 2 chambers, the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives. Michigan has 2 senators, like every other state in the country. And we have 13 members of Congress because we have 13 congressional districts. So you get 1 member of the Electoral College for every House member and 1 for every senator, which means Michigan has 15 votes. Okay. And so if you win Michigan by 1 vote, you get all 15. And then they add them up all across.
You talking about win Michigan by popular vote?
If you win Michigan by 1 vote, so the way the vote is counted, it is just a straight vote. So there are 10 million people in Michigan, and whoever gets the most votes for president, they get all 15 electoral college votes.
Okay.
So they get all 15. Every state doesn't do it that way, but most states do, especially the bigger states. So your California, your Floridas, your Ohio's, your New York's, Texas, majority of big states, you get every single one of them. Some states it's a portion, but it's not here. So if you win, for example, Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016 by 10,000 votes. He got all 16 votes at the time because we had 14 congressional districts. So now we only have 15 because we only have 13 congressional members. So very simple. There are 435 members of Congress. There are 100 U.S. senators, so there are 535 electoral seats. And so you need to get half of those. Plus 1, you do that, you win, right?
So your vote does matter.
It's critically important. And in many ways, your vote in Michigan matters even more because only a handful of states are going to determine the election. So if you live in Michigan, the reason that you see Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Tim Walz here all the time is because Michigan is one of a handful of states that is going to make a determination about who wins this election. And so, honestly, you play an outsized role in this race. So show up and vote.
Every vote counts. That's why we say it. Every vote counts. So there were more people so when Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016, he won by a little over 10,000 votes. When Joe Biden won in 2020, he won by about 120,000 votes. And so when people are like, it was so close, it's like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
It wasn't close at all.
That's not that close.
It wasn't close. Right. And so, because when Donald Trump won, he was like, that was a landslide. It was a historic victory. And when he lost, he was like, they stole it from me. It's like, bro, you got whooped. Yeah, right. And so we just have to make sure that it's not close, which is why everywhere I go, I was like, hey, just get your 10 people. Because if you do that, we win, and we make sure it's not close. Because if it is close, he will continue to say the same stuff that he's been saying. But that's why it's important for us to do it. It's not uncommon for Black folks to know that we can't let things be close. Because if it is, it's not going to go our way.
True. You want to cook. You had the stove on. See, y'all know we do this every day, bro. Me and my brother, we be on Marco every day. We have just countless topics. And politics is one. And I was like, I was so looking forward to this show because I was like, I'm really ready to get to like other topics. But this is important. Now that information right there, see how you drop them jewels? People may ask me, like, no, let me get it from the people directly. So here you go. You got it. You got it from the source. I'm just to connect. You know what I'm saying?
I want to ask about voter suppression and what do you see happening with voter suppression, or what examples might you give for voter suppression that you've seen lately?
I mean, people are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars telling us your vote don't matter. And they are doing everything they can to elevate these crazy folks who are saying that Black men aren't going to vote for Kamala Harris. That's just not the case, right? Just don't buy into that. That's why it's so important for us to remind folks to do it. But I have a 3-year-old son. He'll be 4 in a couple of weeks. He was born the day before President Biden got elected. I was at the hospital with my wife and the little dude. And before we went in, the wife was like, "Hey, look, we going in together, we leaving together. So you're not leaving for any reason except that." And so I get a call from the Biden team, and they're like, "Hey, can you come down to the TCF Center?" And I'm looking at my wife like, "Nope." And she's like, "Yeah, he's on the way." Because we have to remember that it's our job to keep our stuff safe.
Yeah.
And the way that we do that is by making sure, 1, that it's not close. 2, that we've done everything we can to get our folks out, to get them early, to do all those other kind of things, and recognizing the role that we all play in combating the misinformation. Because there are a lot of people who will say felons can't vote. That's not true in Michigan. Right? In some states, that is true. But did you know that even if you're in jail, you can vote? You haven't been sentenced. You still got your rights. And you should vote. You can vote absentee, right? Like I was with the chair of the Detroit Police Commission just a couple hours ago at a Black Men for Harris event, and he was talking about how they go in and take in, ballot applications to the jails, make sure all them folks get their stuff, because you are very much so innocent until a judge says you are guilty and sentences you. And you can vote anytime before then. So there are a lot of folks who are in jail, who are in county, who have the right to vote, who should go out and vote, right? Like, don't let anyone tell you you can't vote. Check it. The NAACP has a variety of support networks. You can always call them and do that. Now's the time.
So any form of obstruction that you receive at the ballot or the voting places, or where you find there may be some type of suppression, it's easy to just make a phone call or look for various locations to get it done.
Call the NAACP. You can call the Secretary of State. You can call the Attorney General if somebody is trying to prevent you from voting, because your right to vote is inviolate. You should not let anybody take it away from you.
It's interesting. Like, they done dropped so many jewels. So normally on the resurgence, when somebody drops jewels, we drop bread. We don't be throwing stacks. We don't be like, okay, that was some real substance. We drop we drop a stack of bread on the table. Like, that was some real stuff you said. Man. So, you know what I'm saying? That's how we normally do it. Let me turn it up a little bit more. Let me go to the people who are like going crazy on this computer right now. And let me read something. In the Black community, this is one thing that I'm kind of passionate about. Being a member of HBCU. Shout out to Wilberforce University.
I'm sensing a theme here. There's a little bit of pride about that.
It is. Wilberforce. You got a lot of Wilberforce on here right now. So Wilberforce is a thing. Talking about HBCUs and our culture, the main thing that's being talked about, it's never fully addressed. And I feel like when it comes to like politics, Republican or Democrat, shout out to, and Umar, big brother, Umar talks about this a lot. Umar's coming on the show. Umar, you next, brother. Be ready. That's going to be crazy. But reparations for African Americans, descendants of slaves. What is it that we have to do to really get that? How do you feel? Like, big bro, I met Ice Cube. I was in Vegas. I love Vegas with a passion, so I'm there often.
Okay.
I was at an Ice Cube show. I met Ice. I wasn't there.
I mean, Donald Trump is always trying to meet with any black face that he can get. So he can go, look, man, me and the black people, we good.
The blacks.
Like that's not a real thing, right? Like, when we talk about reparations, there's a layered discussion.
Very layered.
Because the foundation for reparations is not slavery. It is actually what happened after slavery. So when we talk about Reconstruction, right? So that when people talk about that 40 acres and a mule, that was Reconstruction. So that happened under President Grant. It was this idea that once you were freed, that you were entitled to these things so that you could start your new life. Black folks did great during Reconstruction, right? Owned land, built property, did all these other kind of things. Just because folks weren't beating them, separating their families, enslaving them, like just being able to be free. So you often hear people say, well, I mean, we don't need affirmative action. We just need to be. Not right. There is a legacy of trauma and things that were stolen. And so right after that moment, black folks have made all these advances and they were like, no, I'm not good with what you have. Right? Told you my grandma was 101 years old. She grew up in Oklahoma, less than Yeah.
We might be cousins. That's where my mom's side from.
And well, you know.
We might be.
But I mean, she less than 40 miles away from Tulsa. You know, she was the Tulsa massacre happened 2 years before she was born. She remembered, you know, people talking about it in real time in first person. That was where our wealth and the things that we did was stolen. When we talk about what white people were able to grow and develop, so much of that came from the investments that happened after World War II and World War I and the GI benefits. I used to run the State Veterans Affairs Agency. Like, we had 101-year-old, 102-year-old World War II vets who didn't apply for their benefits until they were in their 90s, because when they came home in their uniform with their medals on their chest, they said, "Hey, nigga, take that off," because they could have been lynched for those things, because American GIs fought for and developed a space to create freedom across the world, and came back to a country that said, "You're just a nigga to be." And that difference is where we can talk to, because they're like, "Well, we can't get back all the way to slavery." We don't need to. Go back to that moment where white folks were able to buy homes for $30,000 that are now worth $300,000. Go back to that moment when you said that they could go to college on the GI Bill, and that was the reason that they were able to go to Harvard and Yale and Princeton and Columbia and to go to these places, University of Michigan, in the 40s and 50s, and we weren't. That there were these incredible investments in, you know, the Ohio State and University of Michigan and Michigan State, because after World War II, a number of these big universities were able to take advantage of all the money that was flowing from GI benefits to invest, to grow. And imagine what Wilberforce would have been able to do with 50,000 GIs have been able to go back to Ohio and go to Wilberforce. What that money looks like if it had gone to Howard, if it had gone to Hampton, if it had gone to Tuskegee. Like, that's the difference, right? My dad's elementary school teacher, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson, was a Tuskegee Airman who was shot down. He was at the POW camp. And he always said that he was treated better as a POW in Nazi Germany than as a black man in America. Because as a POW, he was a second lieutenant. And the Germans did a lot of things wrong, but they respected his rank. And so when we talk about what reparations is, we don't have to go back to slavery. We can go back 50 years. We can go back 60 years. We can go back 70 years to restrictive covenants and say, "Oh, well, we couldn't buy into those neighborhoods. We couldn't develop into those things. We couldn't get that insurance," right? We can go back directly to that, where it's your parents, my parents. You know, that is a space that we can go back to, that we can track. Ta-Nehisi Coates writes an incredible article where he talks about that space. But there are lots of ways that we want to do it. But the when, the how, the what's, that's not important. The thing that is most important is saying we are going to speak up and we are going to be a force. Because if black folks voted at 70%, at 80%, at 90%, it don't matter what anybody said, because they will be saying, hey guys, what do you want? Oh, you want the reparations? Cool, we got you. Because people who vote get what they want. And if we want more, we got to vote more.
So do you feel either candidate is actually going to do something for, because people say, "Oh, well, they don't do nothing for our reparations," but
no. So let's see. This is not an either candidate discussion, right? We know that Donald Trump is not going to do any of those things.
Facts.
And we know that Kamala Harris is doing everything she can to do it. We did not expect Barack Obama to be able to magically end racism because he was a black man in America. But
people expect, I think people thought Barack was going, because I've heard some things, "Oh, I thought he's going to do more." I was like, he's a president, he's not a king.
Also, he did a ton. I mean,
Yeah.
He let a generation know that black people could be president.
Yeah, I never thought I would see that in my lifetime. I was like, whoa.
He changed the trajectory on all those other kind of things. I mean, you look at how much reparations has become a part of real, regular conversation. People have been talking about reparations for 50, 60, 70 years, but it's a real thing that people talk about. There is a commission that Keith Williams here, got a ballot initiative to do in the city of Detroit. California as a state has been talking about it, right? Like, this is a mainstream discussion point that people have to talk about. And Kamala Harris is talking about it. So the housing program she's talking about, the investments in historically black colleges, they might not say they're reparations, but if you ask people what they think we should be doing for reparations, it's a lot of those things.
Yeah, so the actual benefits given without the actual label of reparations.
But why can't they label it reparations? Because every other community every other community gets stuff done for them, like the Asian hate bill, the LBG thing, the other people, they get something directly done for them. Why not us, who people were stolen, taken from Africa, put in bondage, and then not only that, broken families, the atrocities of like slave punishment.
Stolen. They weren't stolen from their land. They weren't viewed as property, inhuman or inhumane, whatever. Just they weren't looked as human beings. So for them, it's easy to get this bill, that bill. But for us, our experience here was way different.
That doesn't mean that progress ain't still happening. Mm-hmm. So I always talk. So best way to describe it, we have all started the year and be like, you know what? I want to lose some weight this year.
Right. We are working on that right now.
Healthy weight loss is 2 pounds a week. That's the upper limit of weight loss.
Too.
It's
50, I've been doing that.
52 weeks in a year. If you lost 2 pounds a week for the whole year, you'd lose over 100 pounds. Mm-hmm. But at month 1, if you've lost 8 pounds, you're like, man, this ain't even working. It's like, bruh, you are on track. Yeah. You just got to keep going. Mm-hmm. And so again, if you look back and you say, hey, this is where we went, this is where we're going, we have a long way to go. And there are going to be some moments where we have, we take 1 step, and then moments where we lose back 10 steps. Right. But a big leap will be getting a Black woman in the presidency, in the White House, because there's no mistaking that she understands what it's like to be us, because she is us, and it's going to be working on programming that are going to make a difference. We just have to make sure that they have the tools, because we don't get mad at our teachers because they don't have better facilities. Right. We understand that for them to have better facilities, we got to get better school board members. And we got a school board election, right? Places where we're going to get folks like Sharice Butler elected. We understand that to do that, to get schools in there, that we have to elect better members of Congress. I mean, Michigan's a big state. We don't have a single Black member representing the city of Detroit, right? Like doing the kind of thing to make sure that we have representatives who see us, who understand our issues and are working towards it and can deliver. And so everybody's always like, why don't you want to hold them accountable? Why don't you build them up? Go to their community meeting. Mm-hmm. Go help them get a thing done. Go, organize your neighborhood and get 50, 60, 70, 100 people, right? When we go to churches, we're like, all right, it's 300 people in this church. If y'all all get 10 people, that's 3,000 people. Mm-hmm. True. You get 3,000 people motivated and engaged, you can win some things, right? You're going to start moving the needle. And you don't have to ask them what they're going to do for you, because they're going to come to you and say, what can I do for you? Mm-hmm. So organize, get ready.
Oh, yeah. Y'all pinging because this phone going off. Y'all, there's so many views on here right now. Everybody.
I can't get obstructed. There isn't enough talk about that, I think. So what do you guys think about that? Like, what is your stance on that, or what? I guess whatever you can share regarding that information to probably inform the people. If that makes sense. With that, the question.
I think the point is, if you remember Hamilton, remember there was a moment where Hamilton was just everywhere, and there's a song in there where Thomas Jefferson is like, "Hey man, you don't have the votes. Mm-hmm. You want to get something done, you got to have the votes, right?" And people understand what that means. Either you have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, you got to keep working to get it. Mm-hmm. And so political parties are designed to win. And so they are pushing agendas that allow them to win. If we want to move them, we got to go work those parties. We got to go be involved and get invested.
Yes.
I need to read an email. We have an emailer. I'm not going to. So this. Now we know who this is. He always wants to be anonymous.
All right, but this might be my last one, because otherwise the wife's going to be mad. I got to keep the kids to bed.
He out here with us right now. I already know what it's like. It's a thing. This is the thing. So, and he's watching right now. So I'm gonna read your question, even though you want to be anonymous. Why don't you just say who you is, bro? But okay, we're gonna let these guys get out of here. We took up way too much time, and they are snapping. So the question from our online viewers is: today I spoke with a friend who was laid off from Chrysler. I dreamed up on an idea of a reparations bank idea, which federally employs all employees, meaning if it's a restaurant, it's slow, it doesn't affect the employees' pay. It's no secret that cars are not selling that fast, so why not use the bank of reparations to keep the country working? This bank can also fund the sports business as well as city officials. Too much weed, or is this a nice dream?
It is a nice dream, actually. I mean, it sounds like economic stimulus. But.
So it's not really a dream. There's actually a gentleman at the University of Michigan right now Cool. I'll just rename anonymous for now. But he's pushing something called the iPool, the Detroit iPool, Detroit Investment Fund. Each member of the city of Detroit would have an investment that they could put just the same way the Alaska Oil Fund is set up. So you would have a guaranteed, like maybe say $1,000 that you can invest in small businesses. Each business that's profitable, you get profit sharing back. But the thing is, you can't withdraw the money. You can pass the money down to the next generations, or if you leave the city, you can pass it to a city resident, but you can't necessarily withdraw. But you get dividends back from it, and you have ownership. So it's a very similar concept in that instead of like being relying on one investment source or your one source of income, now you would have opportunity to invest in maybe the corner store or that barbershop that you may be fledgling. And because it's all like macro, I'm not an economist, so don't. We're gonna give a shout out to Toynu Reeves, who's actually the author of this at the University of Michigan. He's pushing this right now, and there's something that City Council is actually considering. So when you have things of that sort, where you're having someone who's laid off potentially, then they could have opportunity to utilize that investment pool money to make more money, or potentially actually get a job wherever they want it, and as part of that system in and of itself.
All things possible for a spaceman. Do I got to go back to that, bro?
I mean, hey,
nothing's impossible for a spaceman.
Impossible and improbable, completely different things. What you want to do is you want to know that when I tell you a thing is gonna happen, the thing is gonna happen.
For sure.
When it's not gonna happen, I'm like, hey brother. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying I'm not doing it.
Okay. we get Kamala on here, bro. It's going down. Kamala, look, Soror Kamala. This is your bro, Vito Viviano, Z chapter Bloody Triangle.
You know. She did Oprah. I don't know. You know.
And we need Oprah on here next. Oprah and Kamala. It's me. Why not? You know what I'm saying? Why not?
Let's hope for the best. I did have more questions, but I understand that you brothers are very busy, and we know how it is. We appreciate you.
I'll come back.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
Let me see. Now this thing been going crazy. Ooh, look at all these people. And this is a live Wilberforce. Look, we getting Oprah and we getting Kamala on the show. And Dr. Umar. But when you put stuff in the atmosphere, that's why the power of words is powerful, bro. When you put stuff in the atmosphere, it happens. Shout out, Romeo just walked on. Now y'all can't see Romeo because he walked behind the camera. But Romeo is here. God baby Ren is here. Our goddaughter's in the building. She's over there probably eating salad. Here's the thing. I would love. I just I thank you, brothers, for coming out, man, because the jewels that y'all just dropped right now, especially about electoral college, when I tell you I'm out and people be talking about, like, let me get somebody who really in the mix. Because that's me. I'm going to bring you to people that really know. We appreciate y'all, man, for coming out.
Glad to be here.
No, appreciate
You know what I'm saying? It's a huge thing. This is our fourth episode.
This is 4.
This is our fourth?
Feels
Oh, it's 4. Thank you. Shout out to Rodney. It's 4. This is our 4th episode. Episode 5, we're going probably in a whole different, probably get into the Diddy thing. That Diddy conversation is crazy.
Leave me out of it.
Right, leave. But no, thank you, brothers. Man, I appreciate y'all coming out. Y'all dropped jewels. We dropped a stack of bread. Cause y'all was, matter of fact, we dropped another one because y'all was.
And so,
y'all was out here.
For everybody watching too, how can they get in touch with you guys if they need, or not if they're able to get in touch with you? Where can they contact you?
Easy to reach me. You can go to my website. It's adamolia.com. So ADAM at ADAM. You can email me at adam@adamolia.com, which is Adam at ADAMHOLLIER.com.
Okay.
Or find more info at adamolia.com. Super easy.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're interested in participating in the voter turnout project, you can just email me, lwiggins, WIGGINS, at michigandems.com. And I'll send you all the information you need to get involved.
Okay.
Or if you want right now, you can actually go to the website. You can go on to the Apple Store. You can go to the Google Play? Mm-hmm. And you can download the app called Reach. It's called Reach Progressive app. And then go to Michigan Victory and download the app. You can send your friends and family tons of information about the upcoming election, has memes, has videos, all factually based information, not propaganda or that other stuff.
Cool. That stuff.
Okay.
And we know what that stuff is.
But did y'all peep on my brother talking about I'm not spiritual? Now you know I'm old school.
When did I say that? When did I say
did
that?
You see the shade?
When did I say that?
See See how Bruce Wayne does?
You notice this the power of being on record is that you can play it back. When did I say that? At what point did I say it? I said I am on a spiritual journey. I am moving my behavior challenge.
Now he don't even want the spiritual is him.
It sound like y'all having a personal thing. I'm like,
This is how your brothers do. We gonna go to commercial. Look, first of all, thank our guests. We appreciate you both coming out.
So,
You're always welcome back here on the Resurgence. Please pop out again because we 29 days?
Yep.
29 days
away.
Vote now. I need everybody because another initiative of Alpha Phi Alpha is a voteless people is a hopeless people. We want everybody to vote. Go out and vote, please. Please do that. Thank you to our special guests today. We're going to cut the commercial. We're going to let them get out here because they got a ton of stuff to do. We love y'all, and we'll be right back after this commercial. And y'all too. And that's it.
Okay. Appreciate you guys. I didn't even know you could pause the line.
Get this thing going right here. For everybody that tuned in to the Resurgence, my brother's doing the Illuminati eye right now for reasons I don't know. Because we don't do that. But yeah, but for those that just tuned in, man, we had an amazing show. We had to tone down the normal behavior. Now they gone. So this is what's about to happen. So we're going to give you guys the actual Resurgence behavior as we close out the show. But
behavior.
I do want to point out though that I did not curse. I did not drink alcohol.
Me either.
Nope.
Oh, drink.
So the behavior challenge is in effect, man. Also, once again, for those that don't know, the Refined Men podcast every Tuesday drops every Thursday. He's gonna be a guest on the show one day because since he was complaining. So now he on there now.
I gotta be on.
He gotta be on.
And I don't drink. I'm coming to the show and I don't drink. Now what y'all gonna do with me now? Because I don't drink and I'm coming on the show. Let's talk about it. Come on.
Okay, you gotta say
it's not really drink. He didn't give us no money.
That is
Corona
true.
is from Mexico.
It
when
is
they
from
cut
Mexico.
me a check, I'll say Corona.
It's a cerveza.
Cerveza. Sir, we're not doing none of that. So, this episode was epic. Oh, my God.
It was. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Huge.
But I like the fact that he went in and said the things that I was wanting him to say.
Yeah, he's
the questions I wanted to ask. He said all that.
They went in. That ain't no lie.
I can think of some people that we know that's probably mad as hell, though. And mad as hell is a place, not a word.
Now, my thing is, I need Kamala Harris. We need you on the Resurgence.
Now that day, I may sip like a little because it's Kamala, man. She look like she like to party. So
she gonna party with us. I know that. She gonna party with us today. I know that.
Do you like Kamala's laugh? I like Kamala's laugh.
I do. I love Kamala's hair.
Yeah, her hair is crazy, man.
Phenomenal.
Always hooked up.
It's
man.
Phenomenal.
So my brother's in rare form now, as you can see. You notice the transformation that's happening right now.
Come on.
He been chilling all day. Now he's on 12. So let's go. All right. So here's the thing, V. Let's get into it. Since you said that I accused you of not being spiritual, so
I am
why don't you go ahead?
Spiritual of the Justice League.
Okay. So you know what? But you know what? I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here to say that, V. So explain to everyone what makes you so spiritual.
Because I'm old school Catholic. Sazishizon. Sabelago mancha maloname. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, maloname.
That reminded me of a mafia movie that I once saw a long time ago. Do you watch mafia movies?
I ain't never seen them.
Never seen one?
Not too much.
It's crazy. It's a lot of shows that he don't really. Because it's another show, dog. You heard of this one?
Boots?
I do. I've seen the boots.
There's a zoom in on my boots right now.
Well, I don't want to move it because it's going to be.
Well, my boots is on. And these boots is made for walking. And that's just what they do. Get this man a sandwich. Get him a sandwich.
Don't get me no sandwich, bro. I just got in the gym for the first time in weeks.
So you said now go to the gym?
What is this? If I say so let me ask you a question. All right. I bought some gym shoes last week.
Well, I ain't bought no gym shoes.
Oh, see that part he don't. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
He is on 12. So yes, explain. But let's go into your beliefs. What are your beliefs that make you spiritual, dog? Let's get into it.
Because I'm old school Catholic.
We got that, man.
Sajid Shizam.
Okay, but explain your spiritual part of it, dog. Like you saying you spiritual. Give these people something to know
Something spiritual.
that you spiritual, dog. What you feel?
So my thing is this: Jesus Christ is a black man. Let's talk about that first.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, Jesus black.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, we got to be the people of God because look all the stuff we be going through as black people, bro. We got to be we the people, man. So it's got to be us. That's why I said Jesus black. You know what I'm saying? Because of the stuff we've been through as black people. You feel me?
Do you think that a lot of the oppression that we experience right now is because we are descendants of God and Jesus Christ?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
for sure.
They ain't ready for that
That's
conversation.
a whole conversation.
I think we done pissed off a whole political party with that conversation.
I think we did. I just feel like, first of all, this episode was we went in a different direction, but I don't want to say a different direction. People know we talk about this a lot. Me and my brother discuss these things a lot. Mm-hmm. Just on the phone together. So we just gave y'all a snippet of a different direction that we be in as far as our political philosophies. I just feel like here on the Resurgence show, next episode gonna be even crazier. I just feel like we have so much to say. Mm-hmm. And I feel like politically, we had to do this episode because we're so close to the election. But there's so much that people are talking about politics. We had to give the people what they want. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I mean, what more they want from us? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can go in any direction. We can go from here to the Diddy parties to Dame Dash.
We're not attending the Diddy parties. We can talk about the Diddy party. Let's just get back on here and say that correctly.
We're gonna talk about the Diddy parties. We're gonna talk about Dame Dash and Jay-Z. What is that about?
Why is everybody? But no, and maybe you can answer this for me, not to cut you off. But why is everybody going at Jay-Z? Because Diddy got arrested. Like, and maybe I'm ignorant to that because I don't see the connection. But everybody's going in on it. So what do you? Give me that. Explain that to me.
I think because, like, if you think about, like, rich, successful black men, you talking about Diddy, 50 Cent, and Jay-Z. Them names are synonymously mentioned together. Mm-hmm. The problem is, for Diddy to be mentioned, it makes you mention the other successful black men. But my issue is, why is it always black men that have to go through this downfall period? You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. But but then again, the question is this: Jay-Z has been successful for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So
we need you on the Resurgence.
Listen,
what you gonna do?
But notice that what you just said. You said that a lot of successful black men go through this downfall period. Right. Jay-Z has not gone through the downfall period. He had the controversy on the elevator with Solange. He had the unfaithful confessions about his life and Beyonce. Facts. But he's never had that downfall, and I feel like Jay-Z just knows the game. He knows how to move.
Jay's smart. Jay is a hell of a businessman. Jay is smart. Shout out to Jay-Z. Jay, we need you on the Resurgence.
For example, if he was at a Diddy party, mm-hmm. and I've heard that, according to accounts of the Diddy parties, that around 1 o'clock they tell you need to get the heck on because Diddy about the Diddy. Mm. So I feel like Jay-Z was one of them people that grabbed Beyonce. All right, babe, it's 12:45. It's time to get the heck on.
You know, it's crazy. I looked at your plate, bro, and I thought that was a plate of pancakes because I see
you did. Oh, because it looked like bacon.
It do like swine. I don't eat no swine. I ain't doing that. But it looked like pancakes. Now I got an urge for some pancakes. This is really your fault. Why? Because now I got an urge for pancakes. See, I've been doing good with eating healthy. Now I want pancakes. See, this is how your brother do you when you see. Do you see this right here?
Y'all notice how I just come back on the show and this the treatment I received, bro. Everything been my fault today. I want y'all to count it out. How many things been my fault today? All I did was show up.
Because he said he was more spiritual than me.
Never said it in this on camera, so if y'all got it, play it back. Matter of fact, timestamp where I said that.
I'm the most spiritual person in the whole outlaw crew.
Really? But you know, you stupid, dog.
Listen, outlaws. Yes.
Yeah, no. He's not. No,
outlaws.
He's not.
I'm the most spiritual person in the outlaw crew.
No, you got to prove that, dog. You got to prove it. You can't just say that you're the most spiritual. But that's hilarious, though, what you're saying. That is hilarious.
Is it?
What you're doing right now.
I am the most spiritual person out of the entire outlaw.
So you
way more spiritual than like a Romeo or like a Jay Wells or like a Dane.
You just more moral than any of them. More moral.
Far more.
Way more.
Way more.
Crazy.
Way more.
Well, outlaws, if y'all hear this and y'all dispute it,
outlaws,
please feel free to call in.
What's the number to the show? Who remembers that?
I had it.
Call in. Call in now to the show. 313-312-0398. See,
and debate with him because he's saying he's more spiritual.
Can we get a caller?
I'm not saying it.
Clifford is on here. Can we get a caller?
Cliff Diggy.
Someone call into the show right now, and we will debate spirituality of how I'm the most spiritual person. Who wants to call in right now?
Okay, but I want to ask you, V, what makes you so spiritual? You said that you old school Catholic. We covered that.
Old school Catholic. Sajisha's on.
You said that Jesus Christ is black.
Come on, take your time.
But now what do you feel encompasses spiritual? What is your definition of spirituality, brother? Like right. Give it to them, man. That's what they tune in for. In tune with what? With what?
Spiritually in tune.
They're spiritually in tune. But with what?
In tune, bro.
Yeah, but with what?
Spirits.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say with God and Jesus Christ.
Somebody started acting like Trump. Trump.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, he's not Trump, because if he was, I couldn't sit here this long.
Trump.
Terrible. But yeah, so for me, let's just go in. We'll just give y'all a quick rehash on things, because basically I started this show with I didn't start it. My brother started it, and it asked me to come on. And we basically go through spiritual conversation, Bible, things of that sort. So if you have any questions or anything, tune in to the Refined Men podcast. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on TikTok, and it's also on YouTube. Refined Men. And the purpose of Refined Men is that we had our own lives, and we are trying to yeah, that's scary, bro. It's almost like a live exorcism was about to happen on the camera. But we are trying to basically give our lives, but also understand that we are working through obedience to Christ, which is what I've been on just as of late. It's easier than you think it is, but it's also it's a challenge, because denying the flesh is a challenge. But I had no alcohol today. I did not curse one time.
Me either.
He didn't have no alcohol.
Not none.
None.
Not none. They ain't seen none.
But
you ain't seen none.
Nah. Is that what's her name? Is that Francine?
Suzanne.
Suzanne, yeah.
Suzanne.
Why she always
come here? All right. You better have my money. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that shit, bro. Go ahead.
So so let me let me break down obedience real quick.
Break it down.
So if you ever eaten at a restaurant and got sick,
achy breaky heart,
have you ever gone back to that restaurant?
Come on. Who been?
No, man. Well, it could be you. It could be, but it is. So
I'm not gonna say the restaurant name.
No, please don't.
But I did get food poisoning. I ain't been back since.
That's literally the same thing. How obedience works. That's the same way how obedience works. How obedience works is literally the same thing. Something is bad for you, you step away from it, you don't go back to it. The renewal of your mind is what God is after. So that's basically the whole gist of our show. And we're coming from a place of experience, not judgment. Tune in. Refined Men podcast every Thursday on YouTube. Check it out. All right, so we are now on the Resurgence close out of the show.
Close out of the show. This our TikTok. We got our guy, baby Ren is in the building.
What? Ren in the house.
Ren, where you at? I want to interview Ren. Oh, come over here. Come over with your godfather and your uncle. Come on this side with the camera can see you.
Over here.
Over here. Look at guy, baby Ren.
Okay.
Look at her. Oh my, is he little?
So
guy, baby Ren.
Normally we don't do this, but we
Right.
interviewing the children.
Children.
So the fact that so Ren, here's the first question. And Uncle Valdez just said, "What up, Outlaws? What it do?"
Outlaws, we in the building. It's all outlaw all day. If you ain't outlaw, then you ain't popping. Let's get it.
Yeah. So, Ren, how do you feel being that today is Monday? Here, you got to come right here because you're always looking at the camera. Okay, so here's the deal, Ren. So, being that tomorrow is Monday and you have school tomorrow, how do you feel about that, Ren?
Going to school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't like school.
She doesn't like school.
She's not a fan of school.
Most kids
not
don't.
a fan.
Most kids
She's
don't.
not happy with school. She does not like it. Why don't you like
first grade? I do like school, but I don't like first grade.
Now, why don't you like
okay.
first grade? See, the
Make sure
camera
you
that
got
way.
there. Don't ever turn your back to the audience. So here's the deal. When you talk, you turn your head this way or turn your head that way. Okay, so turn your head that way if you answer his question.
Okay, now look that way.
Turn your head that way. There you go.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. Now, why don't you like first grade?
Because we do hard stuff.
You do hard. You do hard. What kind of stuff you doing in first grade? They're like trigonometry. Yo, what you be doing in first grade?
Doing this
Math.
What? What kind of math you got going on?
I don't know.
No. Are you at the school? Are you there?
Yeah?
So why you don't know what's going on? But you know what's going on in Disney World, don't you?
Why are you talking about Disney?
Because I'm talking about Disney right now.
So
Disney's not here.
Disney is not here. Shout out to our sponsor, Disney World. We need $1 million for our show.
5, actually. If you got
Actually,
it.
give us
5,
5.
10.
Disney,
So
y'all
30
got
million,
it.
30
We
million.
want $10 million.
30.
Look at my goddaughter. Give her $10 million over here.
So, Ren,
Give
here's
her
a question.
money.
Ren,
What's wrong with you people?
do you like gym at school? Do you have fun in gym class?
How do you know I have gym?
Because it's school. It's school. They better have gym. You got to have something. You got gym and recess. Those are two things that are required. You do both of those?
I like gym.
You like gym?
Okay,
what's your
like gym.
favorite game to play in gym class? Tell the people right here what your favorite game in gym class is. What is your favorite game?
Tag.
Tag. I'm a tag person
She
myself.
likes tag.
You like regular tag? You like freeze tag?
Regular.
Regular tag. She is a regular tag player. She's faster than any of your kids, and she will tag all your kids if she's it. You like being it, or you like being the one being chased? Which one is it?
It is chase.
She likes it and chase. She is versatile. Your kids have no techniques. She has all the techniques. Loving it. Okay, well, Ren, it has been a pleasure. I don't know if your Uncle V has more questions for you, but yes, it has been a pleasure. You're going to get some sleep tonight.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure you get lots of sleep. Nobody told me this when I was your age.
And my dad has a new job.
Your dad has a new
Your dad has a new job. Your dad has a new job. Teacher.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
You think
What?
what would you think if your dad was your teacher? How would you act in the classroom if your dad was your teacher? Would you call him dad? Would you call him Mr. Dad?
Mr. Dad,
You
no.
wouldn't call him Mr. Dad.
What are you gonna call him then? This guy you call this got something over here.
Or I'll call him Mr. Dad.
Mr. Dad.
Or I'll call him Mr. Daddy.
Mr. Daddy.
That's interesting.
Mr. Daddy.
That's what you call him. This is our goddaughter. This is Ren's god baby Ren. She's on the resurgence. This is the thing. Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Oh my god. Ren, oh my god. Ren, this show is about politics and voting. You gonna vote when you grow up?
No.
What?
You not gonna vote when you grow up? Why you not gonna vote, Ren?
I don't have to.
What you mean you ain't
What
gotta
you mean you
vote?
don't have to? You don't have to now.
You gotta vote.
When
What
you get
talking
older,
about?
you
I
gonna
don't
vote?
want to.
You don't want
You
to
don't
do
wanna
it?
vote. What?
I think you know why she not gonna vote, because she gonna actually be a politician. Is that what it is? Do you want to be president?
No!
No, you don't want to be
What do you
president.
want to be when you grow up?
I don't want to talk about it.
She don't want to talk about it.
She does not want to give the people her information. See, that's because y'all be tracking guy baby Ren. She not gonna tell you what she want to be when she go. Just know she gonna be something.
Yeah.
Okay? Just know that. What you think I do for a living?
I don't know.
You know what I do for a living?
No.
I'm gonna tell you. You want to know?
Yeah.
I'm a cattle rustler for the Michigan Livestock Association. I rustle cattle. Look at her face. Show your face to the camera. Look how she looking.
That camera right there.
Look at this camera right here. She like, what?
I don't know what you're talking
Okay, I'm gonna say it again. I'm a cattle rustler for the Michigan Livestock Association.
about. You don't look like you're a wrestler.
No, not a wrestler, a rustler. Cattle. I deal with cows, sheep. I wrangle cows and cattle.
No, you don't.
I do. I'm a cowboy. Look at my boots.
That doesn't mean you're a cowboy.
No?
No.
Well, what's it mean then?
It's just regular shoes that you want to wear.
Bro.
My guy baby don't know I'm a cowboy. I'm a real cowboy. I really deal with cattle. I can wrangle cattle. I can lasso cows, horses, sheep, all types of stuff.
Nope.
Next weekend, we're going to bring you to the ranch. Okay? You want to come to the ranch?
She said, I need to see it before I believe what's actually happening.
Look.
She's like, I need to see this.
Hold on. Let me see me. Look at the
Oh,
people.
that is
Tell me.
funny, bro.
I am a cattle rustler for the Michigan Livestock Association.
No, you're not.
That's what I do.
No,
That's my job. I earn money.
no, you do not.
God, baby, Ren. Well, how I earn money then?
Just doing regular work.
That is my regular work. I'm cowboying.
No, you're not.
I'm cattle rustling.
You can't get nothing
Look at the
over on this
people.
kid, man. This is
Come over here. Look at the people.
classic.
Wave at everybody wave at my guy, baby Ren. See, look, wave at the people, Ren. Look, guy, baby Ren is on the closeout of the resurgence with us. Ren has been on the show with us today. Now I don't know why she don't believe I'm a cattle rustler for the Michigan Livestock Association. Bruce, you know that I cattle rustle, right? You know I do that.
I've heard such things.
Okay, but that's what I do. That's how I get money.
But there's a thing.
Roddy knows.
I heard this. It's a show that I keep coming up every time, bro.
Yellowstone.
Yeah, you seen that show before? It's called Yellowstone, man. It's
I ain't
on
never heard
Paramount
I
Network.
know you're a teacher.
I have
Uh-oh.
never taught in my life. I have no idea what that's about. I am a cattle rustler for the Michigan Livestock Association. Now, what's this show? What's it called?
It's called Yellowstone, man. It's dope.
Yellowstone.
It's on Paramount Network,
I ain't
right?
never heard of it before.
It's about cattle rustling, actually.
What?
Yes,
It's about my job?
it is
I
actually.
ain't never heard that.
It's ironic too
You're a
because
teacher.
the
You're a
show.
teacher. I know that. You're a teacher.
Your shirt says
No,
smile.
you're a
Show the
teacher.
people your shirt. Come show people your shirt. Look at. Oh, look at your shirt that smile. Smile for me. Would you just smile? Smile
No.
for me. Who made that song? Uh-oh.
Your favorite?
Huh?
Your favorite?
That is my favorite person. Who made that song?
It is. It is.
He did actually make a variant of that song.
You know, Elvis is one of my favorite artists, but it wasn't Elvis. It was Tupac Shakur. Shout out to the Tupac Shakur family and the Tupac Shakur
I don't
Foundation.
know.
Yeah. So we want to thank y'all for coming out today.
Man,
Thank you for God Baby Ren being here with her smile shirt on. And thank you to Adam for coming out, for Lynn
Man.
coming out.
yeah.
They dropped a
That's
lot
amazing.
of jewels today. Shout out to our sponsors.
Well,
Shout
you're
out,
still a teacher.
that is so not true. Shout out to all of our sponsors.
Do you believe he's a teacher?
Do you believe in magic? Is the question. Do you believe in
He
magic?
believes you're a teacher.
I had never have done that before in my life. I don't know what
Never
you're talking
taught. Never
about.
taught.
Never.
He actually.
Thank y'all for coming out. God bless you. Welcome to episode 4 of The Resurgence.
Uh-oh.
You will be able to see all 4 episodes coming soon to YouTube. Tune in. We'll be here next week on a whole nother topic. Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. We need you on The Resurgence.
Check it.